Hello and welcome to our series of how-to videos for our DIY picture framing products. Whether you're just learning to frame or you've actually been framing for a while and want to take it to a home-based business, this series of videos will help you all the way through. A cheaper way of framing a picture is to block mount it. Now traditionally we used a hardwood or an MDF to do that, which was usually about 9 or 12 mil or around ½ inch. These days we have a couple of core boards which are lightweight, like a foam filled board, and we have two examples of here. This one is a Kappa board and this one is a polystyrene filled board. Now the Kappa board's more expensive, but it's actually a lot easier to use than the density of this foam. When cutting this foam with our cutters, it's best to have a bit of a graphite spray. It'll go through nice and easy, whereas the Kappa board cuts beautifully. Both usually come without a self-adhesive, so you want to put a glue layer on it to wet mount it, or get some dry tissue self-adhesive. This one here has got a return film on it with a self-adhesive backing, and we also have that on this one. So it depends on the supplier in the area what you can get, and our technique is to adhere this picture down, and then to finish it off we put a black edging, or we can get a white edging around. Our 101 straight cutter is adaptable to two different blades. Firstly, we have what comes standard with it, which is our Matte Master blade, and secondly we have a deep cut blade for cutting up to 20 mil. We have an adjustment in here with an Allen key. Now what you can do there is simply loosen off the locking block, and you'll see you can slide in and out. Now we can use either that or the standard blade to go in. So if you're cutting, say, 3 mil foam board, even matte board, you want to adjust it down up to 5 mil here. You can also use this to cut up to 10 mil board. But if you're going to cut the deeper boards like we're going to do today, we want to put in the 20 mil, slide it in the groove just here. The best way to adjust it is to sit it on the edge of the board and go down. Now we just want to cut through, so you just want to kick it up a little, and then when you've got your depth right, just secure it in. So we're going to cut through there. Now the technique of cutting these boards is similar to mat cutting. So once again, if you couple it up with one of our rulers, you're going to run it along nicely. Now this one we've got lines on that paper, so we can use that. So we want to start off, lower that elbow, like I said, the same technique as mat cutting, and just pull it towards you. That's going to give us a nice smooth finish. Now you can see we're only just coming through slightly, maybe a mil into the board. That means we're going to get a nice cut on the bottom edge as well. Okay, so our technique for sticking down a photo, whether it be to the 20 mil or even a 5 mil board with a self-adhesive, is the first thing to do is to make sure on your reverse side is clean. If you have anything on there at all, you can leave a little bump, so you've got to make sure that's clean as well. Turning over, so we've actually cut this board slightly larger. We're going to trim that off later. Get our leading edge, pull it back, and then start our edge just like that, smooth all the way along. Now you can get some gloves for this sort of, but you've got to be worried about lint. So all I'm doing is I'm using this hand, and I'm going to come along, and I'm going to smooth down as I go to make sure they've got no bubbles. Once you've got to that point, put the covering back over, and then you can get a bit more firm, and make sure all those bubbles are gone. And then just peel off the rest of our paper. Now we're going to come to the cutting side of it to do our edges, and what we're going to do here is use our ruler, just come in slightly so you can see a little bit of colour. I'm showing about a mil there. Using our cutter, get nice and straight. Trim it off. If you're too close to the edge here, just got to be wary that you've got to keep your cutter nice and straight along there. And all you're going to do, sometimes you may need another pass to make sure you've got it through. Continue around our 4 sides. Once again, we're on. Then around to our last edge. There we have a nice smooth edge. When it comes to finishing off our block mount, all we need is a cutting knife, and this is the edging that you can buy in either white or black. It's just a plastic that's the depth 20mm to here. What we've done is we've put a bit of double-side tape. Sometimes you can buy these with a heat activated so you can actually iron it on. Now what I'm going to do is just take a rough bit, a little slightly over, trim that off, and then on my edge, what I'm going to do, peel off the double-sided release and just line up my edge, stick it on, and then if I turn it up this way to get a nice sharp corner, I just cut off the excess, and that's going to give me a nice sharp corner. So once again, just trim off my other end, peel off a bit, stand it up and line it up here. For a hanging system, a couple that we could recommend. One is that you can buy from, say, a hardware, which is just a stick-on. So you'd line that up in your centre and stick it on. Another one is a foam ball one, which has actually got prongs on it. Now that one's a push-in, so you're just pushing that in and securing it down and bending your tab back. So you've got 2 different forms of hanger you can find for these, and just push them under the back. So that's block mounting techniques using our straight cutters and rulers. The straight cutters will come standard with the Mapmaster blade, and in the 1060B systems come with it as well as the bevel. So you can buy it separately, and then you can add the deep cut blades if you want to do block mounting. And find a local supplier for your board. Like I said, it'll either come with a Kappa board, which is a great core and nice and smooth to cut, or probably a cheaper alternative is the polystyrene core. If you can get them with a self-adhesive film on it, it makes your life a lot easier, or you can use a spray glue or a wet mount or dry tissue.